Hey guys, Kryptex here. So today we're going to look at a full comprehensive review of the S19K Pro. And I have the 110 terahash model. So we're going to look at operating system, Lux OS versus Brains OS. We're going to look at a bunch of pools, and I'm going to show you just a couple of weeks worth of numbers and calculating and figuring out which one is better when it all is said and done. So what we're looking at here is my 9 S19K Pros. Now, this was easier on Lux OS to do. I pretty much had one setting, and I got them pretty much clocked right at 2,000 watts. So remember, that was my goal. I wanted to get at 2,000 watts, so then I could have three S19K Pros on 130 amp. Do that times 3. That's where my 9 S19K Pros come in. And so that was the goal. Now, I will say that I am assuming, and from what I've done some other testing, these operating systems, these firmware upgrades, are going to run differently depending on what power you run. I know KiiNG has done quite a bit of Brains OS with his S19K Pros at about 2300 hash rate or 22 or 2300 watts, and he's getting very good numbers, and they're running very good for him. So I'm thinking at this 2000 watt, Brains OS just doesn't like to work very well. It just doesn't. And so, as you can see, just looking at the voltage and the frequency, they're all over the place when it comes to Brains OS. And then the Lux OS, I got it pretty much dialed in to where, yes, there's some variance in there on each ASIC, but the variance it's much less, and they run really well. And it wasn't that hard to hit those numbers. So, and I will say this: these numbers I got for Brains OS, it's probably pushing the 2,000 watts for some of these a little bit more than on the Lux OS. So keep that in mind. I'm pulling more watts using Brains OS using these settings to get this hash rate compared to Lux OS. So as you can see, I'm actually behind on hash rate with Brains OS, trying to shoot for that 2,000 watt mark. Okay. I also compared if I was on Brains OS and I was mining to their pool, what was I actually getting on the pool side? And so you can see here, there's a little bit of a difference there in what you see on the pool side for both pools, Luxor pool and Brains pool. Okay, so I was tracking that too because I thought Brains looked a little bit less than what it should have been, and it is. It was pretty average, a little bit less when I was mining with Brains OS. So if we just look at the Brains OS versus Lux OS, nothing else comparing, I would say I would stick with Lux OS. Now, if we look at the pool comparison, so some of you guys have seen this sheet before. I was comparing NiceHash and Via PTC and Brains and Luxor, and I was comparing Brains with and without Brains Plus, which is their firmware version, and your pay rate from what you were getting with it. So, I did this over a little over a month, and I'm gonna keep doing it. But here's kind of the final numbers after a month worth. As you can see here, NiceHash got 158, and then Brains with Brains OS. So when my S19K Pros had Brains OS installed, they were getting 160. On the Brains pool, it actually showed what it would get if it didn't have Brains Plus installed. It was 157. So NiceHash was just ahead after a month worth. Now, if we look at Luxor, with Luxor, just the pool with not Lux OS installed, you're at 156, so just behind. But with Lux OS installed, you're at 160. Now, I didn't see this. It doesn't show it on their pool. It doesn't show what you should get and what you should get with Lux OS and what you got without. Where Brains pool does show that, which is great. But Luxor pool just paid out today on the 1st a rebate of all those fees that I paid, and I got credited back for the difference. And so that 2.5% brought this number up to 160, to where it was equal to Brains for the month. And that 160 for Brains and Lux OS was better than NiceHash. Okay? So that was, great to see, great news, with the Lux OS being a little bit better at 2,000 watts than Brains OS, and the pool being equal. that made me very happy because I was a little worried that if I wasn't saving that 2.5%, Brains would probably still be ahead, even though the software wasn't getting me as efficient numbers. And so after today, getting that rebate back, no, it actually made it to where it was a 13 terahash difference from what you saw in the pool and the difference. Because I was actually, it was 2.5%, so that it was actually getting me more hash rate by being on Brains with less efficient clocks than being on Luxor with more efficient clocks. Okay, so a lot of information here. It's not easy to show it, but just realize that I was, calculating this, keep an eye on it. I got numbers from myself, from my sons. I get numbers from KiiNG when he was on different pools. I get numbers from Red Panda from when he was on different pools. And so there's a lot of different numbers here over this past month from different people. And so it wasn't just what I saw with like one machine. It was multiple people. As you can see with NiceHash, there's over a petahash for quite a bit. That was some of Pandas. That was some of KiiNG stuff. They have all their ASICs on there, so it's a good collection of information. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I have more container builds coming, so my container build got pushed out just a day or two, but everything's going good. We got a lot of good information today, so I'll have a lot more information, a lot more videos on that. I also might be testing another firmware version that just got released, and so I should be getting that later this week. I'll let you guys kind of know when I see that, but yeah, should be pretty good, pretty fun, and we'll go from there. Thank you guys.